we're live. Welcome everyone to Shin-Arken Podcast Episode 8 about Rangers and stuff like that. What's up, Arken? It's just
Hey dude, what's up, man? How you been?
not bad. Just talked to you like yesterday, but
Was it?
yeah,
Yeah, I think it was.
it was. It works though. Hamming these out, getting them done.
Damn Skippy.
All right, so we basically discussed the whole trends and all that. We did the stuff. We can kind of do a blending of what we normally do with the whole like general and then into the profession. Arkin, how do you deal with Rangers, or what as a guardian do you do against Rangers? How do you handle Rangers? What is your general strategy?
It really depends if they're power or Condi, but like I'd say about the vast majority choose Condi because again how prevalent it is and how tanky you are, and there's a lot of room for mistake there. As a Condi, I would say pretty much most Condi professions definitely in comparison to Zerker specs, because again you're a lot less squishy. I mean, yeah, granted you can put out more damage at once, but it's not guaranteed. But if I'm fighting a Power Ranger, I really don't have too much of an issue, honestly, because both of us are somewhat relatively squishy. So it's a matter of who lands their burst, who can mitigate more than the other. So I don't have too much of an issue with that. But when it comes to condition damage Rangers, I have a huge issue with it because of their innate high health, armor, and evasions, on top of a decent amount of protection access.
Yeah.
So when you combine all that with their condition builds, and they can put out a decent amount of condition application, whether it be from spirits. I mean, traps aren't that great like they used to be, but it's still relatively tough to deal with. So, not to mention you got to watch out for their pet, which again can hit like a truck.
Yeah, not to mention the pets have all sorts of like CC and more conditions and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
How do you deal with that? I mean, how does a warrior deal with that?
Again, it really depends on whether they're condition or power. I think that's kind of a running thing with every profession that goes up against a ranger. Are they power or are they conditions? For power, I basically just have to go absolutely crazy and get in their face and just CC them as much as possible, because like if they're running longbow greatsword and they've got a decent range on me and they've got it set up so they can just fire away with the longbow and I'm still closing the distance, that rapid fire can hurt a lot with a power build, because not only is it a lot of damage, but it's vulnerability being stacked on top of that, which is even more damage for them. So one of the big things that I have to look for when going up against a ranger is, okay, they're using a longbow, that rapid fire is hurting a lot. Okay, I'm going to need to bust dodges, and I'm going to need to otherwise mitigate all that damage incoming so I can get to them. But usually power rangers I can actually handle fairly easily, because they're usually running greatsword longbow and there aren't many evades on that weapon set. So once I've got them in my combos and my CC chains and all that, they're pretty easy to take care of. I don't need to worry about a lot of dodging, a lot of evades. They're relatively easy to just keep locked down and kill them. The condition rangers, on the other hand, that's where it starts to hurt a lot, because they do have all of those evades. They do have all the conditions being stacked on top of that. They do have the pet. They do have the fact that condition builds a lot of time are built around close combat. So while I'm strong in close combat, so are they, and they have the condition advantage over me. At least my build. So it's rough. Those rangers, I typically do what I do with any condition build, which is be very mindful of what is on me at any given time, how intense whatever's on me, and try to stay out of the nasty.
That's all you really can do, isn't it? I mean, it's obviously you can't stay out of the nasty when it comes in the form of like procs. That's not possible.
Yeah.
But with fields, obviously you can do that, and that's not relatively hard to do.
Yeah.
So if you're fighting like a sword torch and then like longbow ranger, granted they could throw their torch at you. It can be dodged. They can throw down a bonfire, which it can also be dodged. So there definitely is a lot of play there that allows you to dodge. But at the same token, some of these procs can't be dodged, because it's not possible to continuously dodge, and then eventually you're eventually going to get crit.
Yeah, because they have a trait where as soon as you reach 75% or lower, they gain their 5 stack sharpening stone, bleed on crit or bleed on hit
Right.
thing. So it's like, yeah, it's a proc that you can't avoid because they're gonna get it as soon as you drop below 75 health or 75% health, and as long as you're not running a bunker build, that's probably gonna happen.
Oh, absolutely. It goes down relatively quickly. It definitely feels like the burst from conditions is just that, a burst. It's obviously not as fast as getting hammered down by someone who's running Zerker,
Yeah,
but it feels like it, especially when you yourself are Zerker and you don't have as much health as you normally would have if you were running more tanky.
yeah, yeah. They're definitely rough to deal with conditions and all that. I was actually messing around on my Ranger last night, last night because I wanted to get some footage for the podcast, and I'm like, okay, since I don't know what I'm doing, I need a massive crutch for whatever I'm doing. Let's run cheesy conditions or something like that. And so I ran. The first thing that came to my mind when I thought Rangers and conditions was traps. So I threw together this really weird trap build and lined my bar with traps, and I was actually able to take people on and kill them pretty readily on the point. Because
the size of those traps are pretty big.
Well,
Granted, again, it's not that hard to dodge through it if you can see it's there. But again, when you throw down a trap, just before they even get there, they don't see it, obviously, and they're probably going to get hit by, maybe 1 or 2 stacks. So that's going to be something that they need to deal with. But if, like, say you and me are in the middle of a fight on a point and I see you throw them down, I can dodge through them and, somewhat mitigate that damage. So when I look at traps, I don't really see it as being too powerful because of the option to mitigate it in some form via dodging or just staying out of it entirely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm no pro ranger. I really
Neither, dude.
I really only know what little that I've messed around with. I'm definitely not a source of. I'm not a font of knowledge when it comes to rangers, but I know a few general combat things, and I think that may have helped me stay alive when I was messing around my ranger. But it wasn't like, oh, I'm best ranger ever or anything like that. Like I was just surprised at how well conditions and the traps worked, regardless of the fact that you can like dodge around them and you can kind of proc them and yet still stay out of the fields. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, and yet I'm still killing people.
Right.
And that might.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that might be more of a testament to how kind of off conditions are at the moment, but.
Well, that's sort of what I was actually getting to, is because granted, you can kind of tell the difference between a good and a bad player for almost pretty much any profession, right? But some of the professions have much more room for, again, error. So it's a little harder to tell. Obviously the difference is there, but it's a little harder to tell because of the simple fact that just conditions themselves are so prevalent, and you yourself are so tanky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you combine that, it's a lot easier, to mess up and recover from that. Versus, again, a Zerker build where, again, if you miss something or you're in the wrong position, you can get smashed really hard and really fast.
Yeah, and like another thing with the whole condition thing for Ranger is their melee setup, the set that has all of their evades and a lot of stuff that allows them to stay in fights for a long time, is primarily condition stuff. It's primarily condition kits. So it's like not only are they able to apply all these conditions and keep the damage rolling, but they're also able to stay in the fight for a long time, especially if they've got something like a soldier's, or not a soldier's amulet, but like a settler's amulet, or like a carrion or a rabbit or something like that. Like, I was running settlers when I was messing around on my ranger, and it was just like I could stay alive for a pretty good amount of time because all the healing power, all the condition damage, and the toughness. It was kind of crazy.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest part of it, is that I've always looked at, and this is a little off topic, but it's sort of in the same realm of what we're talking about, is that Settler's Amulet, again, I think it's the worst amulet ever to be introduced into this game. Not into this game, but I'm sorry, but into PvP.
Yeah.
Because it just gives you so much. It's not nearly. I'm sorry, I was going to say Rabbit isn't nearly as bad, even though it gives you everything you want, especially when it comes in the form of proc on crits.
Yeah.
But Settlers is just on a whole other level of, holy shit, I'm tanky. I'm going to take you down faster than, not fast, but I'm going to take you down and not sustain you.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, you put Settlers on a Condy Warrior, and it starts to get a little ridiculous because of Healing Signet. Or you put it on a Ranger with Troll Unguent, and it's equally as ridiculous. Like, with Rabid, you've got one defensive stat, but Settlers, you've got two, but your offensive stat is condition damage, which doesn't need any other offensive stat to be effective. That's I think that's the main reason, is because you don't need any other condition but condition power to make a condition build hurt a lot. Whereas, like, with Zerkers or Knights or anything like that, you need multiple, or I should say power builds. With power builds, you need multiple stats to make them truly viable, because you can have a ton of power in the world, but if you don't have any crits to back up that power to give it that extra boost, you're gonna hurt, but it's fairly easy to recover from with the amount of healing and sustain we have. But conditions just scale through the roof, and you can still stay tanky because you're not spending that stat budget on other offensive stats.
Right. You can build tanky, and some of the argument is that yes, you do need precision for the proc on crits, and that's understandable, but that's pretty much with every other spec out there, you know what I mean? To help stack on the condition meta. And also, again, condition duration, but then again, that also comes in the form of mostly your runes, which were heavily buffed. You look at Balthazar, that's ridiculous. The burning, I believe it's 45% burning duration on that just alone.
Yeah.
So yes, you do need some duration, and I'm not saying you don't, but your primary stat and or stats for condition damage is just that, condition damage. Whereas power, it's literally power, precision, power, crit chance, and crit damage. You really can't have one. You really can't have it without the other two. So if you're running soldiers, you're still gonna hit with like a wet noodle.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're not critting.
Yeah, the lack of crits, it hurts a lot when it comes to power builds, because you'd think, I've got all this power. I'm gonna hit you in the face and you're gonna fall over. Well, the thing with power builds is, it's not the power stat that really hurts. It's the power combined with the extra damage from critting that hurts. Because you're getting all of that extra stuff from Ferocity, and then you're getting the fact that Ferocity is kicking in more often from Precision. But with condition damage, it's just, I've got a bunch of extra condition damage. Let me just, get the guaranteed hits that are going to do their full damage with my conditions. Yeah, it'll take longer, but since I got so much extra damage on it from the scaling, it's gonna, melt you real quick.
Absolutely. The scaling seems to be pretty strong with condition damage, especially. I think someone made a chart that Torment is the strongest one when stacked heavily. Like, the scaling is ridiculous with it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. But obviously, again, at least from my experience, no one's really been able to get a lot of Torment on me. I think I've had the most 5, but that was from Impale when it was ridiculous back in the day. But that was it. I've never had more than really 5 stacks on me.
Torment, I think they're well aware of how crazy its scaling is, and that's why it's so limited. Like, Impale can do a max of 5. I think one of the thief skills does like 2 or 3, and I think even with something like Runes of Torment or whatever, it's either Sigil or Rune of Torment, you can really only get so many. I don't think unless you have a lot of people stacking conditions on you, I should preface this, in a 1v1 situation or a small fight situation, you're rarely going to see those stacks go anywhere over 8.
Right. I've never, honestly, again, this is just personal, I've never had it go over 5.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you have a ton of condition damage, 5 hits like a truck when you're moving. It hurts, dude. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So just the scaling from that alone is ridiculous. But, just to get that out of the way, when you're talking about conditions and how they scale, it definitely does scale pretty heavily.
Yeah. And then you look at a profession that has a lot of condition spread access, like the Ranger, it definitely benefits it overall. Because, like, for example, Warrior, if you just go with the base condition spread, we've got Vulnerability, Bleed, Torment, and then the Cripple and Immobilize, and Blind for one ability.
And Burning.
and burning, right? I forgot about that. So I mean, we've got a decent amount.
You have a fair amount.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it. You have a fair. You don't have everything.
Yeah.
But you have a fair amount.
We have a fair amount. Whereas Rangers, you do have the burning, you have the poison, you have the cripples and the immobilizes. You have with certain pets. You also have you also have bleeding. You have access to. I know there's another one in there that I'm forgetting.
You have chill if you take the chill trap.
Right, they do have chill. They actually, I don't think Rangers have torment. Come to think of it,
I can't think off the top of my head. I don't believe they do. I mean, I
Okay.
could be wrong. Again, don't quote me on that, but I don't think they have torment. It's
Yeah.
poison, bleed, burning access,
and
chill.
chill.
And cripple.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think Rangers have roughly the same spread as Warriors. Now I really
Probably.
think about it.
Right.
The ones that get ridiculous are the engineers and the necromancers, but that's kind of their shtick is, conditions.
Right.
Now, obviously, if you throw in, now here's one thing that I think might add a little bit to the Ranger over, say, the Warrior. Baseline Ranger has poison. Now, poison I would say is probably one of the stronger conditions in the game because not only is it damage, but it's healing reduction, all healing reduction.
Oh yeah.
So
that screws everybody so much.
Yeah, exactly.
So much.
It's like confusion. Like confusion, I'd say confusion, fear, and poison are probably the top three. Wouldn't you say? Well, burning is also up there.
I think chill would probably be up there because
Yeah.
again, you're looking at a cripple combined with your skills being on a reduced. I'm on a longer cooldown because of that. So I'd put chill up there too, even though it's not damaging.
It's
it's still screwing you up in the long run. So it's hard to say, really, but I would probably if I were to put my top three, it would probably be chill, burning for sure, absolutely, burning, chill, and poison.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose we can't really count things like fear because that's more controlled than anything. I mean, yeah, you got the Terrormancers and all that, but it's not so much a condition you throw on for damage or effects. It's one you use to move people, to keep people in control. It's a CC effect that has condition properties, I suppose is the best way to put it. But just going back to the Ranger, the fact that they have a lot of poison access, just baseline, I think kind of gives them the upper hand when it comes to their condition builds, as opposed to, say, a Warrior where, yes, we've got bleeding and we've got burning, but so does a Ranger. Right. We don't have baseline poison access. A Ranger does. And that the ability for them to have burning and poison at the same time, probably one of the highest damaging conditions, along with the one that reduces healing, it can really mess with people. The thing is, all of that poison application is on their melee weapons, I think with the exception of maybe Shortbow 2, but
and your trap,
yeah. But not all Rangers are going to necessarily run traps, and you probably won't see as much Shortbow on a condition build as you will see with Sword Torch or Sword Dagger. So I mean, I kind of lost where I was going with that point. You
were trying to say about the variation.
Yeah, it's mainly the fact that Rangers can kind of hold their own while debuffing you in ways that not only do damage but also reduce your ability to stay in the fight longer, and that gives them the advantage. Whereas, like with say a Warrior, we can throw a whole bunch of damaging conditions on you, but we only have access to poison through sigils and runes. We don't have that base. We can't consistently reapply the poison like a Ranger or a Thief could.
Right.
And that means that while yes, we're throwing a whole bunch of damage on you, we're not mitigating your ability to negate that damage. We're not mitigating your ability to heal up and recover from that damage, other than through simply overpowering you with the conditions, which anyone can do. Whereas Ranger, they can throw down the fire, and they can also throw down the chill too, as we were talking before, and the poison. So not only are they doing a lot of damage with the burning, they're also throwing down the reduction in your healing and the increased time on your skills. So they can keep going. Now, again, that's more to do with conditions than it is with Ranger per se, but just the fact that the profession has access to all those at baseline makes it a very formidable opponent when building conditions. Probably
that is very true. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say probably a bit more so than a lot of other professions, minus engineer and necromancer. What'd you say?
Oh no, I was going to say that is entirely true, and I completely agree. I think the reason why I would consider that to be more balanced for the ranger is because it's a lot harder to land all those conditions on your opponent. Because again, if you say if you're running traps, and again, if anyone sees you throwing them down, it's going to be relatively impossible, at least for anyone with half a brain, to say,
Yeah.
oh, look, there's a trap in front of me. I probably shouldn't go in there, or maybe I'll dodge through it to trigger it, you know what I mean, and still not
Yeah.
get hit with the effect. Whereas I look at, like, again, necromancers and engineers, that can be thrown at range. Now, obviously, it's hard to compare the three, but you get my meaning. It's a lot harder to apply it as a ranger, in my opinion, than it does as a engineer or necromancer, especially the necromancer.
Yeah, and I would agree. Like, while conditions work well with the range, and while rangers with condition builds can be very powerful, I wouldn't really call them overpowered. They do actually feel somewhat balanced as far as how they interact with conditions, how you can manage condition build when fighting a ranger, as opposed to an engineer or a necromancer. Because as you were just saying, the necromancer and engineer, they can throw all the conditions on you at range, a lot of times all at once or in very short order. Whereas the ranger, they have to either set things that have a decent tell. You can, it's not like it's a backbreaker where it takes forever. It's a very distinct tell. They're either setting something down or they're throwing like a bag down, and it's kind of easy to tell. Oh, that's a trap. I know what to expect from that. You can see them setting it up. It's the fact that it requires preparation and the fact that it has a very distinct tell. But like it's not like a necromancer and engineer where they can kind of just auto attack you and apply conditions and just keep throwing them on. Like I think of elixir gun engineers and cringe because it's disgusting how quickly they can put it on. And then things like Signet Spite. But with rangers, you've got the traps. You've got their abilities on the sword, torch, and dagger. But again, you can see when those are coming. Like the poison application for sword, they're going to spin around you. They're going to do their evade. So you know there's poison coming at the end of that dodge. The dagger one is probably a bit more difficult to see and react to, but even then, it's one application of poison. And then things like torch, again, you see them wearing a torch or holding a torch, burning is going to come out of that. I mean, it's anything they do with that torch is going to be fire, because one is a ranged application of burning and the other is an AoE of burning.
Right.
So
absolutely.
I'd say the thing with rangers, with their condition builds, which makes them feel not as crazy when you're fighting them with conditions, is the fact that everything, where the conditions are coming from. You know what to look for, what conditions to expect. You have predictable conditions. Yes, you have conditions. You have a fair amount of condition application, but you know where they're coming from. There isn't really any randomness to where those conditions come from, other than their bleed, but that's one condition. Their poison, their burning, their chill, their immobilized, all that stuff that's tied to the stuff that tells, what conditions coming from it, and you can see when they're doing it. Whereas with a necromancer, Signet of Spite, you have about a half-second thing flashing above their head, and then boom, you're hit with all the conditions. Or engineers are fairly random in how they apply their conditions, other than like the magnet pull crowbar combo that a lot of them do for confusion. Or like if you see the elixir gun out, yeah, you're going to expect conditions, but I think that gun has random application of conditions on its auto attack. So it could be weakness, it could be poison, it could be bleed. I don't know what the conditions it applies are off the top of my head, but I know it's when fighting necromancers and engineers, it's fairly, you don't really know what you're going to be getting hit by at any given point in time, because the tells just aren't there. The distinct poison attack tell isn't there, or the distinct burning tell isn't really there, other than the obvious things like the firebomb for engineer. But they can throw all that stuff around so easily that you can't really react to any specific one because you've got 5 more on the way. Whereas Ranger, you can kind of expect what's coming up. I mean, they can do it rapidly, sure, but you can gauge.
You can see it.
Yeah, you can
That's
see
all it is. It's fair because of that regard. You know what I mean?
It's visibility. That's the main thing.
It's visibility and the time to react, which is there. You know what I mean? Now, to go on the flip side, like engineers, like say for instance, their nades, unless of course they're casting on top of them, which gives you very little time to react and very little tell on top of it. If you're fighting an engineer at range and say they throw their nades at you, you can kind of tell what's coming.
Yeah.
But again, it's dependent upon where they are. You know what I mean? If like, I can honestly say, like again, as someone who fights one and I'm chasing one down and I'm getting just hammered behind me. I mean, I'm sorry, in front of me, because
Yeah.
I'm chasing them down and just throwing nades. It's like, welp.
Yeah,
This sucks.
exactly. Yeah, like with engineers, it's one or the other. You have either visibility, but you can't react. Or no, you have visibility, but it's spammable, or you don't have visibility and they're all being thrown on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, like with engineers, I think it's just their application is a lot faster than say a ranger. Now, what I'm trying to think of what another, because when I think of conditions on a ranger, I immediately think traps. I know there are other forms of conditions.
Mostly like spirits would be the second form.
Okay.
Again, and that's the more prevalent one because it's group-wide buffs. It's a lot easier to apply because you don't have to actually land something on the ground.
Yeah.
But with how things have changed and how much might is prevalent nowadays,
Yeah.
and how ridiculously almost every single profession can stack it, spirits aren't as viable as they used to be because their health hasn't increased with the damage that has increased from players having like 15 to 25 stacks of mic. These spirits die much faster than they used to.
Yeah, and I've actually noticed that. Like I've seen Spirit Rangers in SPVP, and I'll go to fight on a point, and all of a sudden all their spirits are dead. Like I'll sit there and like I could have sworn these things lasted longer before, but yeah, I can definitely
They
see where
did.
they come from. Yeah, because all the might and all the extra damage coming around. So yeah, I don't really have
Spirit Rangers aren't in the meta, in my opinion, anymore because of the simple fact that the damage increase from, Runes of Strength, Battle Sigils. I mean, that is huge nowadays. No one used to run this stuff. You wouldn't see more than like maybe 10 stacks of might on someone at any given time.
Yeah.
You're seeing 25, dude.
Oh yeah.
And it's applied in an AoE that it's ridiculous. So spirits are definitely getting hammered, and I'm not surprised anymore when I see them just get dropped in a half a second because anyone just dropping down any sort of AoE on them.
Yeah. Now I don't know about saying they're no longer in the meta, but they're definitely not as crazy as they were before. I think in a good team fight, or if you run up against a good ranger who's running spirits and they know what they're doing, I think they can still hold their own. But as soon as you throw in things like a team fight where everyone's blasting might and everyone's got 15 plus stacks of it and they're all applying AoEs, or like you got a Hambo that's built up to 25 stacks of might running around with the hammer and longbow, then yeah, I could see the Spirit Ranger having a lot harder of a time because their spirits are just going to drop like rocks and you're not going to be able to really recoup them fast enough before you get your face smashed in. Or like against an Elementalist. An Elementalist is going to be able to drop down all these fire fields, all these AoEs with all of that might they've been stacking, and then poof, there go your spirits and you're basically just dead because spirits use up a spirit build uses up all of your utility slots.
Mm-hmm. So again, and then what are you left with after that? You have no way to support your teammates and yourself. You are left to stay on the defensive end because it's all you can do.
Yeah. And
so that's why I look at, spirits, I'm like, well,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not, again, I kind of agree with you what you're saying. I'm not saying they're not, entirely not viable, but they are severely weakened by the might. I'm going to call it the might meta. That's really what it is, dude.
Strength meta.
What was that?
Strength meta.
Yeah. The strength, the might meta, whatever you want to call it, it's ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on how ridiculous might stacking is now, and runes of strength and sigils of strength and all that. But yeah, so I figure we can both agree that Spirit Rangers are not as crazy as they used to be. Because I remember fighting those before. They were so tanky. Because the fact that you couldn't kill their spirits quick enough before their kind of attrition aspect kicked in and started overpowering you, just because you were losing out on sustain while they were staying in it. But now that attrition isn't a problem because their source of attrition gets destroyed so quickly. But now, what other have you seen any builds kind of come out of nowhere, or ones that you've seen kind of work well that weren't really there before?
I've been seeing a lot of Beastmaster Rangers come back into the game,
Yeah,
which really kind of bothers me because, like I've always said it, and I'll keep saying it again. We need less AI in this game,
yeah,
you know. And I can honestly say I've fought a lot of Rangers, and a lot of them run very tanky, while their pets are just hammering me down.
yeah.
So I've been seeing that. I mean, I'm still seeing Spirit Rangers because why not?
Why
You know?
not? Yeah, exactly.
But on the flip side, I'm seeing a lot of BM Rangers nowadays. And again, I was really, really hoping that would never come back or see the light of day again.
Yeah,
But you know how that goes. So I've been seeing a lot of that. But other than that, honestly, I'm kind of seeing Rangers getting taken out of the meta again, honestly, in favor of like Elementalists
yeah.
because of how buff they got. So it's kind of weird, man, because Rangers have been in and out of the meta constantly.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm seeing it again. Honestly, it's really weird.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with you on seeing more Beastmaster Rangers because I have noticed more Rangers that aren't running spirits, but also their pets are hitting like trucks and they're hitting like trucks and there's all like rampages one flying around and all that. So yeah, I'd say that's a pretty fair assessment saying more BM masters or BM Rangers coming back because that's kind of what I've observed too, and it's. There is my train of thought thing is happening again.
That happened to me last time we streamed, remember?
Yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, also the fact that they've kind of come in and out of the meta. Like I remember, it wasn't during the first meta. No one really knew what they were doing, but it seemed like Rangers were fairly up there early on, and then they fell back, and then they came back in, and then they fell back, and then we had the most recent one where they were in because of spirits. And now, yeah, other than the Beastmastery Rangers coming back, I don't really see many Rangers around that don't get thrown into the dirt and stomped.
Right. You
And-
don't, honestly, because but the thing that hasn't changed, and I don't think ever will, is they're all still built tanky.
Yeah,
All of them. Because even though Power Rangers have kind of got inadvertently buffed like every other power spec out there because of the rune changes, no one's going to run them because they're still not as safe as the tanky Connie builds. That's the issue. So, the buff is still there, but it's not, because no one, again, the path of least resistance, man. I keep going it over and over. Players love to take that. They want the most benefit for the least amount of effort involved, and that's exactly what people tend to lean towards. And that's why power, even in Power Rangers, are still not going to be prevalent enough because people don't want to take the time and effort to actually work with it and understand the proper term of risk versus reward.
yeah, exactly. And also, one of the things that was going off of your comment about the AI builds, honestly, I would consider the pet like BM builds to be a bit less AI because you're not running around with spirits that are doing all the work for you. Plus your pet, you're just running around with a strong pet and yourself.
Mhm.
You're mostly doing a lot of stuff yourself, but you also have a strong pet. Whereas with spirits, the spirits are literally doing everything because it's all passive. It's all whatever, and then you activate them every so often for emergency buttons. But the thing about AI builds for Ranger is just because of how pets are, and like that is their core, that's their class mechanic. It's kind of hard to remove the AI from Rangers entirely until they come out with something where it's like, stow your pet and gain some passive effect because of or instead of it or whatever. Like until that happens, AI is always going to be part of the Ranger. It's just how it works. Whereas,
That's true. You're right.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is, and I understand that. But again, I still can't be swayed to think that AI should be in the game or be a prevalent source of damage, sustain, or something like that. Because again, you're not really doing anything. You have one button on your bar, your F2. I mean, granted, yes, you can pull your Ranger, you can pull your pet back from out of the AOE if they're constantly hammering on someone, they're getting hammered down themselves. But on the flip side, I me's still just an AI doing all the work, not all, but like a ridiculous amount of work for you. You know what I mean?
I'd say doing half the work.
Half the work. Let's be generous here. They're doing about half the work. So again, I still don't I can't stand it. I've always despised AI builds, and I don't think I ever will change, honestly, because if it were up to me, it would just be like, you do everything. There's no AI that actually can stand aside and just do the work for you.
Yeah. And I am of the same. I don't really like passive play either. I like the player being the main one, driving whether or not they're winning or not. But again, in situations like the Ranger, it's hard. It's really hard to separate that AI aspect until they introduce something to compensate for the pet, because that literally is their class mechanic. That's what their F skills are above their weapon skills. And like we were discussing on the Mesmer podcast, Mesmers kind of have the same thing. I mean, you can't really remove the AI from that class either, because that is part of their kit. But when you look at other professions that have AI builds that are completely optional, like Turret NG or Minion Mancer, those I completely agree. Those builds shouldn't be like as strong as they are in PvP, because you're not doing anything skillful. You're letting the AI do the work. But like with a Ranger, you can't really help it. I mean, it is just part of that profession. Now, it's
a touchy subject.
Yeah, it really is a hard one to try and figure a way to mess with, because it's so ingrained in what the Ranger is or what the Mesmer is that you can't really touch it without someone saying
going
something
horribly wrong.
Yeah, or something breaking. It's Yeah, exactly. Like the thing, one thing to kind of keep in mind with the Ranger thing, and this is kind of me countering my own point, or no, sorry, with Mesmer, and this is kind of me countering my own point, I suppose, is oh no, it might be going. I don't know either way. It's something I want to mention that's pertinent. With the AI on Mesmers, other than Phantasms, clones don't do anything other than either die and apply conditions, or you shatter them. And with the passive AI aspect of Mesmer, you don't have to take that trait. You don't have to take the conditions on death trait. You can just not do it, or if they wanted to get rid of it, that'd be an easy fix. Just remove that trait. With Rangers, what are you gonna do? I mean, pets are so ingrained in what the Ranger is that unless you make a trait that removes the pet and gives you a passive buff because of it, they're not going anywhere. I mean, you can't just take the pet away, because then you're left with half a class. Like we were saying, they're doing half the work, and as soon as you take away that half, you've just got a gimped class that can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. And that's the least thing that you need, dude.
Yeah.
When you go from one extreme to the other, and that's been going on forever with this game, so that's the last thing we kind of need.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'd rather have an AI build than a class that doesn't work.
Ever. Yeah, exactly. Where you just can't do anything. Where you are so far out of the meta that no one can squeeze you in. So I agree completely.
Yeah. I mean, we're probably not doing as much justice as we probably could to the Ranger class, because I mean, neither of us are experts. We're mainly trying to get, we want to give every class our opinion, our attention, but we're by no means expert Rangers. We're just kind of giving our observations and our, as people who've dabbled with it or have fought it a lot. But I mean, it's really hard to talk about these subjects when we don't know the class as intricately as experts. It's a rough one, and I mean that's why we tried to get expert co-hosts on before, but it just became such a problem with logistics and whatnot with the podcast that it's not even really worth the time.
I think we should have put a disclaimer like at the beginning, like, we are not experts at this class. This is from a perspective of classes that we do play. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it in the past, and it's
Yeah, we said it absolutely.
yeah, we've said. I guess we just haven't said it as consistently enough for people who may not have heard the cast before. But yeah, for I guess midway through the podcast, disclaimer: we are not experts on Ranger.
Put that on the replay. Just have like a giant white text that says we
are not experts. Yeah, we are not experts. We fight Rangers a lot, and we know how to react to them, but trying to speak intricately about them is a challenge.
Right.
But it's still content. It's still our opinions. It's still stuff that people might be interested in. Like what do Warriors and Guardians think about? What do seasoned Warriors and seasoned Guardians think about fighting Rangers? And the topic that we were kind of going on before, we could probably revisit it even. Like we discussed it a decent amount, but we kind of just jumped into discussing what we've felt about it. Like you played a little bit of Ranger, right? You played some.
A little bit. Yeah, I did. I actually dedicated some time in leveling one, mostly for power. I didn't touch Condi. That was just not my thing. So I made like a great sword longbow ranger that was just entirely power, and I just made up some makeshift build. Yeah. And I was just having fun with it. So again, by no means expert, just looking at it, dabbling with it. I'm sure you did the same.
Oh yeah, that's like the footage I've got for the podcast this week. I literally did it last night during my my short stream, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not a good. I know I'm not a good ranger. I'm gonna put together a condition build and use it as a crutch, and me equating traps and conditions when it comes to ranger. I'm like, let's make a trap build because that sounds like a good idea, and then it worked to an effect. But there were things that I noticed that were very clearly missing. Like I didn't have any stability. I couldn't play well enough to handle timing my evades and things like that. Like that's one thing I've noticed with Ranger, just kind of overall, and especially last night. Ranger has a lot more timing when played actively than you might expect. Like you gotta time things or you are gonna die.
I think it depends on the build. With traps, I can see that, but obviously, I don't think spirits is nearly as much as the case. I mean, granted, if you're running your elite spirit, you got a time when you need to pop that for the for the revive. So that I can see that, but in the grand scheme of things, I think Trap Ranger would probably fall within that category more than any other spec. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Power Ranger might as well. I haven't really dabbled in it too much, but it definitely feels as if I'm not saying you don't have to set up your burst or whatever you need to set up, but the fact is that at least with spirits at the time, it was literally just passive procs. You know what I mean? With again some activation, there were activation, and then some more important activation via your elite spirit.
Yeah. Now, yeah, like a melee ranger build definitely needs to have the timings down because you have to time those. You have to time your sword 3 and either your dagger 4 or. Well, if you're running a torch in the offhand, you're not going to have that extra evade. You're going to have to manage some other way. And greatsword, the auto attack, I'm not even really sure how you would time that well unless you were really, really good at ranger because it's the third auto attack that gives you the evade. So I mean, you almost have to get lucky, and it's kind of just there's hey, here's a free evade to keep you alive type thing, more so than like, oh, I can time this when I need it.
Right. I think it is. I think that is based around luck because how do you time that?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
just like you hit twice, you hit escape, and then you're like, okay, when is he gonna do something? And then hit the third one.
Yeah, because I mean,
it's weird.
It works well in PvE because you can see the mobs, you can time, when their swing timers are. It's very easy. In a heated PvP bout, you're not gonna you're focused on so many other things that how are you gonna keep that auto attack chain rolling just long enough so you can time that third evade for the backbreaker or something like that or whatever. I even think the window that the third auto attack stays available isn't very long. I think it's like maybe 3 seconds. It's tiny as far as...
No, it is tiny.
Yeah.
And what if by accident you trigger some other skill? That's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to queue it up again somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a purely RNG skill.
Yeah.
Not RNG. I'm sorry. That's a bad word.
No, not
purely
RNG.
Luck skill. It really is just luck.
I want to say passive, but at the same time I don't, because it's not really passive per se, but it kind of is at the same time because it's there, it happens, but you don't really think about it. Then again, you do have to be attacking and you do have to be using your auto attack to get it. So it's not like, spirits where they literally do everything for you, but it's kind of just an extra, hey, here's a little bit of extra defense that you don't need to worry about because you're gonna need it and you're gonna be focusing on other things. So it's like, yeah, I don't think it can really be used as a tool for defensive measures actively. I think it's a passive, just, hey, have some extra sustain in there.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. You actually said it perfectly. That's exactly what that is, and that's okay too. I mean, but again, it's kind of weird to have an evade on an auto attack. I looked at that and I kind of cringed a little bit. Like, this doesn't really make too much sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I think just to take a step back and look at the evades in general with the Ranger, I got to say this. One aspect that I look at the Ranger and I cringe constantly, and I still have to this day. Just the amount of evades, protection access they have is mind-boggling. Like, it is unfreaking believable. I understand that the concept behind the class is evades, but I honestly thought that was more for the thief. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll see you an evade ranger and raise you an evade thief.
No, absolutely, I agree. But the difference between the evade thief and the evade ranger is that the evade thief isn't gonna do much damage back to you or do much counter pressure to you. The evade ranger, absolutely they will. They're going to apply poison to you from their evades, or they're going to have protection from that last evade, which will allow them to burst you down and damage mitigate at the same time. So, while yes, the thief can theoretically evade more, the counter pressure from afterwards isn't nearly as high. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I had forgotten about that because an evade thief, they're
not doing shit damage to you, dude.
Other than abusing pistol whip, which even got nerfed, but they're not really gonna be able to put enough pressure on you to make you really worry. They're just gonna dance around and annoy you. But a ranger built around evades and conditions, they're gonna do a number on you because of the fact that they can stay alive so long and still keep damaging you with those conditions.
Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about like things attached to your evades.
Yeah.
Like, again, you have that poison. You have that protection access. A thief doesn't have that. Yes, a thief can evade and pop something later, but during that evasion frame, what are they doing to you? I mean, they're hitting you for a little bit of damage, but afterwards is obviously when things happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not counter pressuring you while doing the evade. So that's the difference. So that's why I look at it and go, holy crap, just, they have medium armor. They have freaking medium health. They have more protection access than my Guardian does because every time you evade, you get 2 seconds of protection.
Yep.
And they fixed that. I don't know if you know that or not, but it used to be when you evaded, you got the protection while you were still evading. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Like, it popped as you evaded. Now they fix it to where it only triggers after the evade is finished. So it actually got a massive buff or fix or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a lot stronger than it used to be.
Yeah, definitely. If it popped at the start of the or like when you dodged, then
you got like 1 second.
Yeah,
now it's literally 2.
Yeah, it was a waste of like half of the protection because your evade was your dodge was negating it.
Mm-hmm. So that's how it used to be. So that is like the only thing that makes me cringe. You know what I mean? When I look at that, is just the amount of evades. But this also goes back to what we were saying about pretty much every single profession, is that the benefit from randomly dodging is prevalent with the Ranger because you get, I consider protection to be like the second most powerful boon in the game.
Behind Aegis.
And you get that on demand. You get that whenever you want. Every time you dodge, you get 2 seconds base after you dodge, which doesn't allow the enemy who may be power to counter pressure you because you're mitigating 33% damage.
Yeah.
So that is my issue.
Yeah, I could see an issue with that because you can be like, oh, your power build. Hey, guess what? I got protection whenever I want, and there goes a third of your damage.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like with you have to give a decent cooldown or two to get that protection, don't you?
What do you mean?
Like as Guardian.
What I mean is I got to use the utilities. I mean, I can get protection access, but not nearly as much because it's on long cooldowns. Unless you count hammer, but I really don't because the only way hammer works is if someone is, dumb enough to not move and just stay in the symbol. That is the only way that works. So it's a little, it's quite a bit different from PvE to PvP.
Related to that, I'll tell you what makes me cringe: the speed of that third swing on Guardian Hammer.
Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh.
I see that, and I feel
The
spoiled
pain.
because
You feel
of
the pain.
well because of the how fast the hammer third attack is on Warrior, because it's like it's boom boom boom, whereas with Guardian it's boom boom boom.
Like you're trying to crack it out. You're like, why won't this thing land?
Well, yeah, it's like taking Backbreaker, doubling the attack, doubling the speed, and then
And the
you're
damage
just
isn't even high on
Yeah.
the third attack either.
yeah, all you get is a little AOE protection circle. It's like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But again, just to go back, it's one of those things where, again, we were talking about before, situational traits or skills. That's
Yeah.
not situational. You get it whenever you want.
Yeah,
The symbol we were talking about is incredibly situational because you have to not only hit that third time, which takes a long swing, you have to somehow stay in it, which you're not going to do.
well,
Because
yeah,
your target's moving.
What-
So it's really weird.
yeah. I was gonna say with the Guardian one on the hammer, you have to commit to it. That's the thing. You have to commit to that protection, or you don't get it. Ranger, you see a big hit coming, you can dodge right beforehand, and then boom, you got the damage reduction. I mean, 2 seconds isn't a long time, but it's still enough to matter. I mean, it's still enough to counter something that someone's going to do, and maybe counter a thing and a half. It's enough to matter.
It's definitely enough to where if you may have mistakenly dodged, you're going to still mitigate a decent amount of damage from someone who's powerfully spec. So that's where the room for error there is so huge.
Yeah, but at the same time, I could see it being used as a very good strategic tool, because say you're the ranger and you're going up against someone against a power, but like a warrior who's got the hammer out and they're barreling down and they're a good warrior. Having the ability to pop that protection on demand, it can be very handy as a strategic tool, as a defensive tool, and give you that option when you otherwise wouldn't have it. You'd otherwise take a lot more damage. I mean, in practice, it doesn't reward skillful play as well, but I can still see it being, skillfully used. I can still see it being a skillful thing, but the fact that it can be spammed like that, that's the weird thing about the trait. Like, it can go both ways. Since it can be spammed, it rewards bad dodging, it rewards random dodging, but at the same time, since it's on something you can control, you can use it skillfully. So
Yes,
I
you
mean,
can.
it's kind of one of those weird ones where it goes both ways. And honestly, even despite that, I don't really see Rangers as like overpowered or having some unfair advantage in that regard, because they just don't feel overpowered to fight. Like, I go up against them and I can kill them fairly handily, even if they have that trait. I mean, yeah,
Right.
it's going to take longer, but it still doesn't. It doesn't feel like I'm going up against some iron brick wall or something that's dancing around me for days and killing me. It's just, the only place I really feel like that is, a super cheese condition ranger in World v. World, and that's because it's World v. World where the stats are all higher. So I mean, it's, despite the fact that it is the way it is, I don't really feel it's maybe as ridiculous as it may seem.
Right.
I think it's per point of view. You know what I mean? I think that's sort of what it boils down to. Like I said, that the counter pressure to Rangers is decent. I'm not saying it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? But their sustain on top of that on top of that counterplay is where it's just like, holy crap. You know what I mean? Because again, I see what you were saying about the potential to have skillful play when you're comboing, when you're utilizing that skill. But the problem that I kind of see is that the whole skillful play is revolved around the evade itself. I don't think you should be rewarded. You're rewarded for successfully evading. I don't think you should be rewarded for not only successfully evading, but also damage mitigating afterwards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of my issue with it. Yes, you dodged that big hit, so why are you rewarded with mitigating that hit? Why are you rewarded again afterwards? That's the kind of the issue that I have.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see where you're coming from now.
It's a double whammy. But again, every single profession has some sort of dodge skill. But again, I look at others as more. I'm just gonna say it, as stronger than others, or as more again, is more effective, I guess you could say.
I think I see where you're coming. You feel it's too much reward for what you're doing. You're getting rewarded too much for dodging that big hit.
Mm-hmm. You are.
Okay, because I don't know I think it is another perspective thing because like even though you are getting that extra protection, it doesn't really. It's not like you're getting 5 seconds of protection. It's not like you're getting some crazy long buff that absolutely negates whatever you're. It's not like you're getting endure pain or Zerker stance for the next 4,
Right.
5, 6 seconds. So I mean it. I suppose it really comes down to it might be another thing like with what we were talking about last week where like I play a warrior so I have a different experience with fighting. Like I can put out a bunch of damage and it's not really noticeable, or like all my attacks are a lot slower so that protection goes away before my next big hit happens anyway. But as I could see from a guardian perspective, like if you're not built for a crazy ton of damage and you don't have all this crazy CC that I have, or like your attacks are fast, more rapid, that protection can come into play and can affect you more often than it would say like with my greatsword hammer or whatever. I think it might just be the fact that we have different experiences, different perspectives.
Absolutely. And that's what it comes down to. Everyone's experiences are going to be obviously much different. Hell, even if you're playing the same class as us, your experience may be different because your spec may be different.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's such a fine. You got to be really, really careful, dude. Like unbelievably careful, because again, your experience may vary. Like just put that in the disclaimer. Your experience will most certainly vary every single time.
Your mileage may vary.
There you go. So that's the only thing that cringe. Like I said, their counter pressure, like significant counter pressure, is not there anymore because what it used to be was spirits, but now that power is so ridiculous, I don't see that as much of an issue anymore. But on the other side, the tankiness, while still staying relatively mobile is what bothers me. Now, granted, if you had just one instead of the other, where you actually had to choose, then that wouldn't be an issue. But if you can build a decent amount of condition damage while still staying ridiculously tanky, that is an issue in and of itself.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's hard to say. Again, this is probably another perspective thing. I don't really feel like Rangers they can really like. I'm not saying they can't build tanky, and I'm not saying I haven't run into any like super sustained, super tanky Rangers as of late or anything. I have run into those, but I don't really feel like they can get that crazy right now. I like.
Oh no, they're not.
Yeah,
they're not that strong anymore. It's just when it comes to sustain, they still have that ridiculous sustain. So, but again, everything else is just gone. It's not there anymore. They really haven't benefited from this patch that much, at least from my experience.
Yeah. And arguably, it could just be a fact that everyone, like, they have the sustain, yeah, but everyone else is overpowering that sustain with all of the extra stuff they've got. Mm-hmm. Either CC or just the fact that strength runes are everywhere and all the might stacking. Because, like, Hambo can shut down a ranger no problem because
absolutely.
It's Hambo. But
especially against a spirit ranger, if you have a ton of stacks of might, you are going to destroy those spirits. And then that ranger's left with nothing except to try and just play defensively.
Yeah, and
so that's it. That's all that's left.
And even then, if they play defensive, they're going to go squish quick as it is, because...
Mm-hmm. That's it. It's just like that.
They become Ranger Pancake.
Oh, I love pancakes, dude. Oh.
Yeah. I love Ranger Pancakes, too. I like pancakes, and I like Ranger Pancakes, because I make them.
Because that's what you do.
I make them, yes.
Flatten just constantly. It's good stuff, though.
Alright, we've actually run up pretty much at the end. Yeah,
nice.
We've already blown through the hour. That was another good one, I'd say.
Absolutely. I think we did really well. I think we did a good job of discussing the aspects of the Ranger, the changes from this patch.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for Rangers. I'm just going to put this. I feel terrible for Rangers right now because I honestly believe they're out of the meta. I think Elementals have taken their place. That's just my opinion. I honestly do.
Yeah, I think Necromancers might need a little more pity as far as the meta goes, because high-end PvP, they don't really have a role other than backpoint defender, and things can kind of come and squish them. But either way, I do agree that Rangers are kind of hurting at the moment. Like, Elementals just kind of came in fists blazing and kicked them right out of the meta. But it's hard to see. There's still a little more time. There might be some builds because I remember I was talking with Jebro on the MMORPG.com podcast last night, and Jebro was saying that there are still builds coming out. I mean, we could very easily see like someone might just not have found the Ranger build yet that keeps them like really in and makes them really good at some role, but as it stands right now, yeah, I kind of agree. They're kind of falling by the wayside while everyone else is, overpowering them with strength runes and whatnot.
It only takes one patch.
Yeah.
Every single time. Every single time. It's all it takes. Just one patch to just either royally screw a class or royally just make someone ridiculously strong. That's all it takes.
Yeah, and to reiterate for the people who either joined in midway or whatever, we're not experts on Rangers. I mean, these are our opinions. These are our observations from people who have dabbled with Ranger and people who have primarily fought them over anything to do with them. So it's discussion. It's our thoughts on the matter. We're not like, we're experts on Rangers, even though we've barely played them. You should totally listen to us.
5 hours on mine, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Like I played like an hour in SPVP last night, and then I just got my PvE experience. I mean, we're calling us experts is giving us way more.
We don't know shit.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm just gonna put it out there.
We know how to fight them with
Some
our own.
shit.
We know how to fight them, and we've got our observations, but we don't know how to play them. So it's hard to really talk about these things intricately as far as like from the Ranger perspective. But I mean, we can still give our opinions. We can still give our observations and overall things like how many we've seen, what builds we're seeing run around, how we counter them, stuff like that. So I mean, it's you take it as you will. People can hate us for sounding like idiots, but at the end of the day, we're just doing podcasts. It's whatever. You run into us on Rangers, and you're gonna roll our face. So
pretty much, I'm just gonna be spamming shit. Yeah. Honestly,
I would throw down my traps because I love the traps.
I'm gonna throw it. Yeah, we're gonna throw it in front of you. You're gonna see it, and we're gonna be like just sitting there going, "Well, you gonna run into it or not?"
Come at me, bro. I got traps. Come at me. But yeah, so yeah, that is going to be it for episode. This was 8. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, this was 8 because we did the warrior, then we did the guardian, then we did the engineer, then we did the thief.
Necromancer?
No.
Thief,
we did thief, then we did feature patch, then we did mesmer, elementalist, ranger, and then I think we agreed tomorrow we'll do the last one, which is the necromancer.
That's it. You're right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And then we will have given our attention and discussed every single profession, and then everyone can feel warm and fuzzy or hate our guts, one of the two. So, but yeah, that's gonna be it for us. Arken, go ahead and plug yourself. I'm not gonna make the mistake of what I did last time.
I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it.
Do it.
I'm doing it for you.
Are you? You're doing it again. You're putting it in chat, aren't you?
Yep, just did it.
Jeez. Well,
remember,
say
that's
it
the one.
Say it on the podcast because people watching the video later aren't going to know what you put in chat.
All right, make sure you look at. Remember, this is Shinryuku's channel. Okay, just putting that in chat, so you know where you are. And again, I am Big Heart Gamer or Arken Elric, whatever. Just again, this is awesome, great podcast, dude.
Yeah, it's fun talking. It's fun discussing these things. We may not be experts, but it's still fun discussing. It's still fun. Getting the thinking juices going and all that. Juices. Speaking of things you use to keep yourself alive, I'm gonna go get dinner, so gotta go take care of that. But yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow for the. I think we're gonna end the series for now on Necromancer, right? We're just gonna kind of.
I don't mind keeping it going. It's just, again, we just finished the class podcasts.
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, we can drum up some other discussion that we'll know more about. But for sure, the next topic is Necromancer, and then we'll figure out where to go from there.
Okay, absolutely, dude.
But
I'm all for it.
But yeah, again, thanks everyone for hanging out. We will be back tomorrow with Necromancer stuff. So take care.
See ya.